In yesterday's video, we fully explored the secret employee tunnels beneath the streets of the Kiddie Kingdom. While there, we found 4 exits that brought us to various parts of the park, which helped us finish exploring it, except for one part, King Cola's castle. Now we ascend the steps into King Cola's castle, and it is here where we are likely to meet Oswald, the owner of the disembodied voice who has been taunting us the entire time. Heading up the final flight of stairs to the door of King Cola's castle, we discover a few ghouls milling around. Before going through the door, we can explore this front courtyard area. Turning south, we find a balcony overlooking the path we took to get up here. We came from the west, and turning east, we find a staircase leading up and heading south across the castle's wall. Well, we should probably fully explore this castle's exterior before heading inside. Going beneath an arch on this wall, we find a wooden crate filled with plasma grenades and rad-X. Continuing along, we can turn around to see a big sign, King Cola's Court, and a banner beneath it, Oswald the Outrageous, Magic Show. Oswald the Outrageous. So he was a magician before the war. Perhaps that can explain the top hat and outfit we saw him in, and the disappearing trick we saw him perform. The wall turns west and ends at a door to King Cola's castle tower. We find the inside of the castle tower lit by spotlights beneath a nearby loft. This small tower appears to be abandoned, and on a table to the northwest we find Rachaels Terminal. Rachel has been referred to in almost every terminal we've found here. And from those terminals, we learned that she was researching a cure to ghoulism. After hacking into this novice-locked terminal, we can read her personal memos. We find 3 sections. User, Rachel Watkins signed in. In the first one, user logs. We find a lot here. We can start with, I got the part. I got the Princess Cherry part. Technically, Dad thinks I got an internship working with the Beverageers. At least I got a job working at Nuka World, which means I can wait and get to know some of them before applying. I mean, I love acting, but I still want to put that rather expensive organic chemistry degree to good use. My boyfriend Oswald and the rest of the gang passed out here in the tower after they threw me a party. All of us got drunk and came up with this ridiculous plan to take over the park if the war ever got bad. Like, nuclear bad. We all agreed, but instead of shaking on it, we did a round of shots. Here's to 2077. I hope it's a heck of a year. So Oswald was her boyfriend. That's why the two of them were mentioned together. And the plan that the Kiddie Kingdom employees agreed upon, that we read about in the refugee terminal in the tunnels, wasn't an official one put forward by Nuka World, but just a friendly agreement that they put together over drinks. Those usually tend to be the best agreements. In the next one, moving on up, we've got our defenses set up now and things are starting to look a little bit better. Thanks to my background, I've sort of become the unofficial doctor of our raggedy little bunch. Oswald has been so supportive, and he's continued to manage this whole crisis like a real leader. I'm so proud of him. Whatever that horrible radiation storm did to us, everyone is having bad reactions, but there are others literally dying from it. I wish I could do more to help everyone, but I'm an organic chemist, not a surgeon. I don't have the heart to tell people that as they're dying in my arms, so I just keep it to myself and try to give them hope. In the next one, the affliction. My good friend Fran succumbed to the affliction a few days ago, and I've just been a wreck. Dean and Oswald boarded her up in a house before she tried to attack anyone, which I don't think I could have taken. Oswald stayed the night up here and just held me while I cried. I tried to apologize to him for falling apart like this when he needed me to be strong, but I knew her since elementary school, and I couldn't hold it in any longer. I hate this place. Fran was the woman whose terminal we read in the flooded room at the end of the tunnels. She was the one who got angry at her boyfriend Evan, pushing him away to the tower. Sounds like it wasn't her ghoul whom we killed in that room. Instead, Oswald and Dean boarded her up somewhere in the park. In the next one, magic is real? There was a huge attack this week that pushed us back all the way to the castle gate. Just when we were about to fall back to the theater, a bunch of the afflicted crawled out of their houses and started helping us out. But as our attackers were retreating, my body froze when I saw a stray bullet hit Dean, and it looked like he was dead. But Oswald did something. This glow came out of his body, flowing like a wave. Suddenly, Dean started breathing again. After the attack ended, we all looked at Oswald, who started muttering something about using real magic. Most of us didn't know what to think. Me? I don't care what the heck you call it. Maybe we can use it to cure the affliction. Either way, I gave him a huge kiss for saving Dean's life. What she's describing, we've only seen that in glowing ones. This must mean that Oswald, like Jason Bright before him, is a sentient, non-feral glowing one. Only they have the power to resurrect other ghouls. In the next one, Leaving to Find a Cure, we've tried everything we can think of, exhausted every option. Not even Oswald's powers can seem to stop the affliction. There are only a handful of us left, and we're running out of time. I don't know what'll get us first, the raiders who moved into Nuka Town, or the affliction. So that's it. I've talked it over with Oswald, and he's going to stay in Kiddie Kingdom to keep everyone safe while I go to find a cure. I felt awful leaving everyone behind, especially Oswald, but I really have no other options. I'm going to head over to the town of Bradburton near the park and start there. This is a huge gamble, but it better pay off. This is the only clue we get as to the whereabouts of Rachel Watkins. I previously published a video all about Rachel. In that video I showed where to find her, but briefly, if we head to the town of Bradburton, a town I fully explored in its own video which you can watch here, we find the town ruined and swarming with ghouls. But crouching down, we can move to the eastern side of the town where we find a huge hole in the side of one of the buildings. Inside, we find the corpse of a ghoul lying on the ground. This is the body of Rachel Watkins. She lies here with a 10mm pistol in her hand, still wearing her employee outfit from Nuka World. On a table near her corpse, we see that she's left a holotape for Oswald. We'll save this and bring it with us to play for Oswald when we meet him. Back at the tower, we can back out of the user logs and explore the next section, King Cola's Court Cast. And here we read the names of many of the people whom we've read about on these terminals. Evan, Fran's estranged beau, was to play a Nuka knight. Rachel played Princess Cherry. Fran, her best friend, played Princess Grape. Herman, the man who worked here with his son, played the Wild Knight. Backing out of this, we find a note on other cast members. We see that the headliner, of course, was Oswald Oppenheimer. Wow, what a name, Oswald. And of course, his girlfriend, Rachel Watkins, played the role of assistant number 2. She also played one of the Cola Clowns, along with Herman and another man we've read about, Mitchell, the crazy guy who brought a semi-truck full of weapons to the park after the bombs dropped. These people must have been so close to each other. At last we begin to understand why we found Oswald talking to that feral ghoul as if it were still a person. He probably can't bear to let his friends go. From this terminal, we can unlock a wall-mounted safe behind the terminal. Inside, we find a bunch of ammunition and a small stack of pre-war money. Well, since this was Rachel's home and we discovered where she ended up, we know that no one else is here, so we can get to looting. We find a first aid kit on a nearby shelf next to a chemistry station. There's an armor bench behind us and the Kiddie Kingdom tunnels key. So this is yet another option to find a key to the employee tunnels. We see a door to the north, but you know what? Before we go out the door, let's head up the stairs to the loft area. Here we find a cooler with meat inside and a mattress. We can take advantage of this mattress to sleep until morning. Finally, now I can shoot the rest of this video in daylight. When done resting, we can head out the northern door. This brings us to the other side of the wall that encircles King Cola's castle. We see that one section of the wall has crumbled down into that courtyard leading up to the main door. Continuing along, we pass a blue door to the right, but I want to finish exploring this wall. We find a picnic section, guarded by a legendary radroach. He was carrying a penetrating machete, 'cause that makes sense. This was a little dining area. We find some tables laid out, one of which has an ammo box on top, and the other one is booby-trapped. I managed not to trigger this cymbal-clacking monkey thanks to my perks, but we're gonna go ahead and get rid of it. Doggone monkeys. We see a stack of cigar boxes, but we can clearly see that one of them is a makeshift bomb. Moving the other two aside, we can disarm the bomb. Finally, we can loot a first aid box on the wall, and that's it. So heading back, we can go through the blue door to King Cola's court. On the other side, we find ourselves in a hallway.
You finally arrived! Quickly, the show is about to begin!
We see bathrooms to the left.
This is no time to piss your britches! We have a show to do! Now get to the stage!
Sounds like Oswald's isolation may have left him a little bit loopy. We see a woman's skeleton in one of the stalls next to a big stack of pre-war money, and in the next stall over, we find another woman's skeleton holding 2 bottles of Day Tripper. We may be witnessing a drug deal that was in the middle of taking place here in the stalls when the bombs dropped. We'll loot both bottles of Day Tripper. These will become important soon. In the opposite stalls, we find a man's skeleton in the toilet holding a Nuka Cola cup. I'm not sure if he was filling it or dumping it. But that's it for the bathrooms. So heading out and winding down this hallway, we find ourselves in the foyer. We see a door to the theater to the northeast. Then next to this is the refreshment stands, bakery, candy, and beverages. Heading into the refreshment stand, we find a cooler in the fridge, some produce and cram lying around, and then a bottle of Buff Out on the bottom of one of the shelves. There's one Nuka Cola in the nearby Nuka Cola machines, and then we see these large double doors. I bet this leads out to the courtyard. Sure enough, on the other side, we find ourselves in the courtyard. These are the doors we bypassed to instead go up the stairway that allowed us to explore the walls. So we've just done a big loop. Heading back inside, we now have one path before us. We can open one of these 2 doors into the theater. Inside, the theater is destroyed. We find rubble and trash all over. We see the bodies of a few already dead ghouls, one of which was legendary and had a VATS-enhanced revolutionary sword. I want to explore the auditorium before going up on stage. I was in the middle of looting some of the other corpses when...
And now... the show you've all been waiting for! Oswald the Outrageous!
I'll admit, I didn't think you'd make it this far. I can tell you're different than the usual invaders, so I'll not bother with the usual tricks and illusions I use to scare off the superstitious. When the bombs fell, everything changed. We changed. And somehow, I received a gift. Actual magic. The stuff of legends. Perhaps you'd like to see some. Up! No matter what you do, I can heal my friends, and we will protect what is ours.
With that, he attacks with a sword, and he resurrects the nearby dead ghouls. I wasn't prepared to go mano a mano with this guy, not on my squishy paper assassin. So reloading a previous save, let's see here, what can we do? Well, we've killed so many legendary ghouls on this park. We have quite a selection of weapons to choose from. You know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this wounding missile launcher. No time for his speeches, let's just wait till he appears.
I'll admit, I didn't think you'd make it this far.
He resurrects the nearby dead ghouls, but then he flees backstage.
So I'll not bother with the usual tricks and illusions I use to scare off the superstitious.
Well, I'm alive. Putting away the missile launcher and crouching down, we can creep up on stage. Heading to the back, we can go backstage. We see Oswald on the Pip-Boy compass, but where'd he go? Ah. What?
Sorry, but I'm not going out that easily. The show must go on.
Aw, come on.
Well, it seems your asinine assault won't be dissuaded. Then I guess it's time for our final act. Join me on the roof of King Cola's castle, and we'll see an end to this production.
That sneak critical should have killed him in one shot, but apparently he's got more tricks up his sleeve. He's retreated to the roof of King Cola's castle. But before we chase after him, let's explore backstage. We see some dressing rooms to the north. Opening the door to the right, we find some couches and mattresses in this dressing room. There's a Nuka-Cola lunchbox on a desk next to a jar of Buff Out and some bottle caps, and the Nuka Berry recipe. Now we can mix a new Nuka-Cola flavor from any mixing station. I covered all of the flavors of Nuka-Cola in my video dedicated to the topic, which you can watch here. There's a mirror on the wall with bobby pins inside. Heading out, we can move west into the next dressing room. Here we find a couple of teddy bears and derbies. Even more, playing checkers on a nearby table, using bottle caps as game pieces. There's a jar of Buff Out here, and even more teddy bears on the southeastern table. After looting another mirror on the wall, we finish exploring the dressing rooms. Heading out, we can go up some steps to the loft area. Through the door and turning south, we see an overdue book on a table. We'll save that for the Boston Library. There's a regal-looking throne here, must have been part of the act. And looking across the auditorium, we see some windows to the south. See if we can find a way to get over there. There's one more cooler underneath a table in this room, and that's about it. Heading out the door, we arrive on some sort of catwalk. We can turn west to go through a door to a supply room. Here we find a box filled with human skulls. Surely these are props. And then we can go down a hallway to the south to turn east into those rooms we saw from the other side of the auditorium. This was the sound mixing room. We find a big roll of Nuka-Cade tickets, another Nuka-Cola lunchbox, and a lunch pail. But that's it. So turning around, we can head down from the loft and go to the elevator. This elevator ride to the top is a long one, and we can't access the hatch on the ceiling. But at length, we arrive on the roof. We step out, but where's Oswald?
You raiders are all the same. You come into someone's home, steal their belongings, and kill those they care about. I'm not going to let you kill any more of my friends. This is our home, not yours.
If these feral ghouls are your friends, I'd love to see who you consider your enemy.
How ironic you should say something like that.
You realize your friends are feral ghouls, right?
They're not feral. They're sick. They can't help what they've become. It's an illness, and it certainly doesn't justify you trying to wipe us out.
What do you mean it's an illness?
It's an illness that affects the brain. We're going to find a cure, and we are going to drive you out of our home.
I'm not your enemy. This can end without bloodshed.
We've defended this place for over 200 years. Do you think you're the first outsider I've met that's chosen to brand feral ghouls as monsters? How many of them have you needlessly slaughtered while ignorantly thinking you're doing the world a favor?
You've been here for 200 years? Why?
We worked here as entertainers until the bombs fell. The radiation may have changed us, but we decided to make this place our home. Over time, the illness took the minds of my friends and those that we love. I am going to find a cure and fix my friends before someone like you comes along and exterminates us all.
Ghouls like your friends. It's too late for them. The radiation changed them forever.
So you're admitting my friends are sick, and yet you try to kill them anyway? I'd say that makes you the only monster around here.
It's not a sickness. The radiation has consumed their minds. They've become feral.
You're wrong. Rachel is going to find a way to cure them. We're going to fix this.
There's no point in arguing anymore. Just leave.
Perhaps I would leave, but I made a promise to keep this place safe until my Rachel finds the cure. My beloved left this place years ago to find a cure to this disease. In return, I swore that I'd keep our people safe by defending our home. When Rachel walks back through those gates with the cure in hand, then you'll see, everyone will see, that I was right.
What if she never returns? How long are you gonna wait?
I will stay here for as long as it takes. I've already watched 200 years pass. What makes you think I can't wait 200 more?
It's obvious. She thinks you're a lunatic and left you behind.
How dare you say that about her? You'll pay for that with your life!
If we respond by insulting Rachel, he attacks. And not even a missile launcher can scratch him. Alternatively, we can try to pass 2 very hard speech checks. Here we can make good use of that day tripper we found in the bathrooms, which increases our charisma. We can say that there is no cure.
I promise you, there is no cure. You'd be better off trying to find her so you can be together.
You're wrong.
Or we can encourage him to go help her.
If there is a cure, the only way she'll find it is with your help.
Maybe you're right. If Rachel is still out there, I'll find her, and we'll search for this cure together.
But if we fail the charisma check, he again attacks.
No, you're wrong. I'm tired of this debate, and I refuse to have your presence here threaten us any longer.
Or we can get him to attack by saying that we're done talking.
I'm done talking. Let's just get this over with.
Fine. I've been looking forward to making you disappear.
If we choose any of the options that cause him to attack, we walk right into one of the toughest boss fights in the entire game. I recall this being difficult, even on my Minuteman Sniper, and it's doubly so on this squishy paper assassin. The problem for this character is I have no opportunity to start this battle from a point of stealth, because we stand here in the open having a dramatic conversation. Instead, I found myself kiting Oswald and the ghouls that he's summoned. All the while, he throws Molotov cocktails at me and chases me with his daggone sword. I died over and over and over again, but I was finally successful. I'll tell you how I did it. After he initiated conversation, I broke away. He remained stationary waiting for us to respond, but we can use this opportunity to plant explosives. Planting the bottle cap mine we found at the top of the stairs leading here, we can then continue conversing with him and then choose whichever hostile option we want to start the fight. As long as we position the bottle cap mine between ourselves and Oswald, he'll run right into it. This forces him to teleport away, and while he has teleported, we have a brief opportunity to hide. Then, once our caution meter goes down, or if we remained hidden, we can sneak up behind him and finally execute a sneak critical. If, after killing the ghouls, we're still hidden, we can get another critical on Oswald. He teleports and resurrects even more ghouls. I did get to a point where there were just too many ghouls that he had resurrected. I couldn't find a single place to hide. So then it just became a matter of kiting. Pick off a few ghouls, dodge Oswald's Molotov cocktails, run around the scaffolding, hop down, get off a few cheap shots, over and over again, until all of the ghouls were dead. This leaves only Oswald left, but I've ruined my stealth, so we'll rely on a pocket full of chems to get through this fight. After bringing him down a fourth and final time he doesn't teleport, he dies. On his body, we find the Kiddie Kingdom roof key, Oswald's password, his magician's tuxedo, a brand new clothing item that reduces damage from humans by 15%. It takes up all inventory slots except for the face and helm, and grants us plus 17 energy resistance and 12 damage resistance. But it can be upgraded with ballistic weave. It looks like a magician's tuxedo, but it's spattered with paint. The paint that he's been using to paint up these ghouls like clowns. We also find his unique top hat, which increases the wearer's movement speed by 10%. It also grants plus 1 to perception and charisma, but it sadly can't be upgraded with ballistic weave. And we also find the Sword of Wonders. This is a unique Chinese officer's sword with the penetrating legendary effect. This ignores 30% of the target's damage and energy resistance. Oh, now we see why he hit so hard. Incidentally, in episode 1, I showed you how much Rad-X and Radaway I arrived here with, 30 and 34 respectively. Well, here's what I've got left, 23 and 6. This place has really eaten through my supplies. But there is one final way to resolve this conflict peacefully. If we found Rachael's corpse in the ruins of Bradburton, we have a unique dialogue option.
Rachel's dead. Here, she left this for you.
I think this is it. I can't go any further. I can feel it taking me. No, gotta keep it together a little longer. Oswald, I'm sorry. I've looked everywhere I could think, but there's no cure. What towns and outposts I could find said that we ghouls just go feral eventually, and there's nothing to be done. Maybe it was the misters. Held out. As long as I can. I know this isn't what you'd want, but I can't stand the thought of mindlessly attacking everyone around me. So I've decided to end it on my own terms. I don't know why it hasn't affected you the same, but if you still held it together, I want you to move on. Leave Nuka World. You can still make a life out there. It's not all as bad as we thought. I love you, Oz.
She's dead? No. No! My poor Rachel. How could I allow her to leave my side on such a difficult journey alone? This is all my fault. Well, that does it then. It's up to me to leave here and find the cure myself. I'll gather what remains of my friends, and will leave this place in your care. Don't worry about the radiation. It will no longer be a burden to you and your kind. Here, you should have this. Consider it an apology for misjudging you.
Choosing this peaceful option also grants us the Sword of Wonders and the top hat, but we miss out on his tuxedo.
Farewell.
With that, Oswald disappears from the world. We complete a magical kingdom, and now we have the option to raise the Raider faction flag of our choice up the flagpole. However, I can't help but feel so sad for Oswald. In the southwestern corner of this room, we find Oswalds Terminal, which we can open with his password. Oswald Oppenheimer signed in. The first section is called System Access. Here we find the same control system for the Kiddie Kingdom sprayers. Oswald turned them off before he left, but we can always turn them back on. The next section is called User Logs. In the first one, things are finally stable. It's been about 50 years since the bombs fell. We've seen some large groups come and go. Usually we've managed to scare them off, or use the radiation sprayers to get rid of them. Seems like most of the attackers are just terrified of the clown makeup. It's kinda sad. They used to bring people so much laughter. On the whole, things are good. We have plenty of food, water, and even partial power when we need it, which I'd imagine is a lot more than most others have. Even the mutation from the radiation storms hasn't been that bad after we learned to cope with it. I'm glad Rachel is still alive. I think she's the only thing keeping me together. In the next one, can't sleep. I can't sleep. We've had to board up another person today. That's over 10 in the past year alone. I'm trying to keep everyone organized and keep everyone's spirits up since Kenneth, Mitchell, and Herman are gone. But there are some days I just don't want to even get out of bed. Some have even started talking about putting the afflicted out of their misery, but we put a stop to that talk pretty fast. We've been here a long, long time now, and these aren't just the people I survived the war with. They're our new family. We've got to find some way to help them. In the next one, was that real magic? There was a big attack today, and Dean got hit by a stray bullet. The thought of losing another one of us caused me to snap, and suddenly it was though energy was literally flowing from my body. Then Dean just shot up and gasped for air. I healed him, but I have no idea how. After the attack, it hit me. Was this some sort of mutation? Or was it real magic? I mean, given the circumstances, who could tell the difference? Even if we had a scientific explanation, does that really make it less magical? Regardless of what I want to call it, maybe I can use my powers to help the afflicted. In the next one, new neighbors. Some big gang took out that group in Nuka Town this week. The gang looks pretty aggressive, so we've decided to leave them be for now. It's too bad. We had almost decided to make contact with the traders there, but now it looks like we've missed our chance. Rachel is talking about one or both of us breaking from the group to try to find a cure somewhere else. But if the two of us leave, I don't know if there will be enough leadership to keep this place together. In the final one, after Rachel left, it's been over a year since Rachel left, and still no word. At home, there's nobody left. No one but me and the afflicted, and that gang of raiders next door. At first, I was wishing that Rachel had stayed behind, but I kept coming to the conclusion that she did the right thing. No matter how much it hurt, she had to leave, for the good of us all. The only problem is that I don't know how much longer I can hold the castle. The walls are crumbling. And I don't know how much longer I can hold them up. I miss you, Rachel. Oswald was just protecting the people he loved, his new family, all in the hope that Rachel would one day come back with the cure. We have to remember, this was a love that he and Rachel had shared for over 200 years. I can't imagine how close their bond must have been, and therefore how much it must have hurt for them to be separated like that. If we chose the peaceful option, Oswald said he was going to go out, pick up where Rachel left off, and find the cure. He disappears from the world. We don't really know what happens to him. I like to think that he found Rachel in Bradburton and used his powers as a glowing one to resurrect her. Maybe in so doing, he can cure whatever part of her was turning feral. Or maybe it's just that he could say goodbye, but then he'd have to put her down again himself. There are 2 doors in this room. One leads outside, one is chained from the other side. But outside we find the flagpole and we can unchain the second door. With that, we fully explore Kiddie Kingdom, and we must now move on to the next park. What are your thoughts on Kiddie Kingdom, on Oswald Oppenheimer the Outrageous, and the sad story of his love, Rachel? Do you think it's possible that ghouls can even be cured? We know that glowing ones can resurrect dead ghouls. Is it possible that maybe within them lies the power to remove ghoulism itself? Or is being a ghoul a permanent affliction? Both Rachel and Oswald thought that Oswald's newfound magic might be able to cure the affliction, but after 200 years of trying, they never succeeded. And if ghoulism is permanent, doesn't that mean that it's just a matter of time before Oswald goes feral himself? What, then, is the most moral choice? Should we let him leave so that he can pursue Rachel's dream of finding a cure for ghoulism? Or should we kill him so that we don't wake up one day to find a feral Oswald wreaking havoc on the wasteland? Should we spare him, or should we put him out of his misery? Let me know the choice you made in the comments below. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. If you want to make sure you don't miss my next video, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I've got a brand new shirt in the shop, folks. Show no mercy. we see the words "Show No Mercy" beneath the painting, and I also have a version that says Ad Victoriam. There's also a version with just the painting and just the words Ad Victoriam. My shirts come in a wide array of colors and in a variety of sizes. I've also got a bunch of other designs and products, so if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.